Alright, let's get this shit started. And we're back. How's everybody doing? Been a little bit, not too long, but I've been trying to do little videos here and there, as you've seen on the channel. Let me know what you guys think about that, of course, in the comments like usual. Correct me when I'm wrong, as usual. Alright, so this next series of the, I guess, podcast, I don't know what the fuck you call these, because they're not going on your iPod, so you can't call it a podcast, alright? It's not a video cast either, because there's not really any video associated with it. And it is an audio cast, but it's on YouTube, which is a video platform? Whatever, it's a fucking cast. It's a Warframe cast, alright? Anyways, we're going to be talking with Hanzo29 here. Now, Hanzo29, that's the name of the guy that on Warframe forums, that's his name on Warframe forums, and he's basically, he's got a lot of interesting things. He's been around for a really long time, done a lot of alliance-type battles. He's actually working on something really interesting, an adaptation of the movie Seven Samurai with Warframes. Really cool. What we're going to be listening to this episode, though, is just Hanzo and I talking about Warframe, just weapons, just all kinds of stuff. Warframe, like we dig in real early. So you know, listen to this stuff. I'm gonna throw his DeviantArt channel. Check out his art. I'm gonna throw that in the description, and because I know you guys don't read the description, I'm gonna throw that in the comments as well. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. So I'm just gonna roll in right now. What are we gonna be calling you? Revenge J is what I got here. Well, we're going to be calling you
Well, you
J.
can just use the screen name on Warframe and just call Hanzo. Yeah.
Hanzo, sweet, yeah, yeah. So Hanzo.
Or I guess
Hanzo
I don't have a
Hattori,
problem
right?
using. Yeah, I don't have a problem using my real name, so you could just tell them Jerome Conover. Which brings me to a question: where are you in the U.S.?
Where am I? Well, you know, I'm a true ninja. That's why I got a second account here. Layers on layers of secrecy.
Okay, because I told my friend, who's the second in command of our clan, you know, that I was going to be here talking with you, and he was like, "Is this guy in Texas?" Because I don't know if he was looking through your stuff, but I'm also from Texas. I live in California now, but I'm from Austin.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, if anyone goes through my stuff, they can find my Steam page, and that will let them know where I'm from. Yeah. Yeah. So that reminds me, I gotta go delete that soon.
I'll let it remain a secret.
What was your friend's name again? I'll look forward to killing him soon. No, I'm just kidding. Stealing a line from yeah, I am Ninja.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, the Ninja guy. It's just that old channel. It's great stuff. Surprised he came back. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was I initially saw on the forums. Oh, you did like hot topics or updates for Warframe. What was that thread that you brought up?
It was a weekly thing that I wanted to start doing. It started off as kind of a joke. I was playing some rounds, you know, with my clan members, and you know, you play the game, and like anybody else, you have concerns and gripes and things that you like about it. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I should just go on and start ranting anyway. Yeah. So I decided to start doing this weekly thing, and you actually, that's funny because you actually caught the first one. I have a second one up now.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, go check it out. I'll put a link in the description. People check it out. So you were just screwing around at first.
I mean, yes and no. You know, like I have some valid things I'd like to bring to the attention of the community and to D. It's not completely a joke, but I do try to have fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't come off as, you know, a total joke. Otherwise, I wouldn't have responded. I was like, all right, cool, man. This guy's paying attention to what's going on. Cool. Let's talk about what's up on the list for you. Things that you'd like to get out there. Get it off your chest.
Well, you know, one of the things I'm trying to do with it is remain objective, because I think it's easy for a lot of the players to just sort of be angry at DE and not put themselves in the developer's shoes, or try to understand what's going on with them. So I always try to, you know, in the threads, give a good and a bad sort of take on things. I think one of the biggest, there are two things that I think that the game could use, and one, a lot of people know this, one is just lore. There really isn't much right now. It's all kind of suggested, and as a player, you feel like, I'm going through the motions and I'm leveling up these weapons and I'm doing all these battles, but I don't really know why.
Yep.
And I can sense, as a creative person, as an artist myself, I can sense that whoever has come up with the concept of this game has an idea in their head. The lore is all in their head, and there are all these hints to it, and you can pick up on them, but a lot of people, including myself, would like to start seeing them, in the game. The other thing that I would like to see more of is more of a reason for the players to be themselves as the characters, because a lot of the way the game is right now, I mean, yeah, there's lots of options for how you mod things, but just certain weapons and certain ways of playing are more viable than others. Like shotguns and sniper rifles, for instance. I mean, you barely see any. You see a few people running shotguns, but you see almost no one running sniper rifles. And there are people who want to use these weapons and want to use that playstyle, but they don't have a reason to right now because they're not as viable. So they've talked a lot about the focus system, and I believe in the recent dev stream they were talking about it again.
Yeah.
What's funny is before, when they talked about the focus system, it seemed like it was going to be about the frame's powers, but now it seems to have shifted to be about the weapons. And that's pretty much what I wanted, what I think the players could use is this excuse for I have a guy in my clan who wants to run shotguns, who wants to be that guy. And I think that that'll be great for the players to say, okay, well, I can be really good at shotguns, but I'm going to be sacrificing my skills at everything else. But that's cool because they get to be that that character that they want to be. They get to use the playing style that they want to use.
Yeah. I kind of have that same feel for Melee. I've made a lot of different threads and in videos and whatnot. I've talked about I'd love to sacrifice all of my abilities for just some survivability with Melee. Better blocking, better, no stamina, better resistances, things like that. So,
yeah. Or a specialty for, like, if you want to use heavy melee weapons, if you want to be the guy that's running around with Fraggle or the helmet or the hammer, that weapon is slow in everybody else's hands, but if you sacrifice your skills in other areas to be able to run that weapon faster than other people are running it, then that makes you that character. You get to be yourself and have that sort of gratification. So that's one of the things I think, two of the things I think that are missing and they should think about implementing soon, which I believe they are. They just they get to things in their own pace.
It's true, and it's kind of odd because, I've been here since closed beta, so it's, I've seen the game progress, and what I've seen them do is they try to, it's this weird thing where they try to keep everything at, like, the same level, but it doesn't work, because then you have weapons that are out there, like the Cyanide Gamma Core, that clearly is in a class of its own. Or you have certain abilities that just nuke the crap out of everything. It's like, I know you guys are trying to keep things at some kind of, like, even playing field, but just go ahead and give us distinction, Go ahead and give it, purposefully put it in there. Don't try to make it like, well, everybody's on a fair level, because we're not,
Yeah. I recently had somebody on the thread, we were talking about the issue of, I was telling people, well, don't complain that a weapon is OP just because you think it's OP. Don't complain about something unless it's really broken. And somebody said, well, how do we know, what determines whether something is OP? And so I told them, well, you can basically compare the weapons to each other. So it's like, if there are 3 damage types in the game, which is slash, impact, and puncture. And usually you have 3 weapons, similar weapon types, like an assault rifle, for instance, that fit those 3 damage types.
Right.
And so basically, if you're comparing, them to each other, and you got one rifle that's really weak and useless, well, that's the one that needs a buff, because they're intended to deal with the different factions in the game. You can also compare the weapon types to each other in different types. Like, logically, you would assume that a heavy machine gun would be more destructive than an assault rifle, but right now in the game it doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, I have my Gorgon Wraith that I've dropped a couple forma in that I really, I want that minigun. I want that heavy chain gun, and it's kind of like, well, it sounds cool.
Yeah, but you would still rather run, a regular assault rifle because it's just more effective. I mean, there are pistols that you would rather run than that weapon. I mean, Arc Bolto, for instance, has been one of my favorite weapons in the game since the beginning, and those things are just devastating. You just run around spraying everywhere. So don't nerf them, please. Yeah. Just because I said that.
That's one of those weapons
next week, Arc Bolto will be torn
has got like it's got the good sound to it as well. You know, it's got like it's got a great sound to it.
And sound can sometimes make those weapons feel fulfilling. It's simple things like that can make them cool. But so, like I was saying, you know, comparing weapons across types should help you understand like where those weapons should be. And sometimes I'm not sure that they're doing that. Like I don't know if when they come out with a weapon, I don't know the process of like how we created this weapon, and this should be as good as or slightly better than, but worse than this one. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that they all make sense. Sometimes it feels like they're not doing that, and they just sort of put them out and then go, oh, well, we have to come back and balance them.
Yep. And I really do know what you're talking about, because I just put out like a close to 30-minute video comparing a bunch of different staves and polearms, and talking about how to, you know, how hard it is to actually balance that stuff, but also talking about how they fail in not adjusting certain stats that could differentiate certain weapons, you know, so you don't have every new weapon coming out being just higher base damage. I think a lot of people on the forums are talking about the same thing. They need to differentiate the weapons more.
Yeah, well, I think they need to compare them to each other so that they understand better where these weapons should be or should not be. Like, if you look at assault rifles, and then you have Boltor for puncture, but even better, you know, of course, is Boltor Prime, which is just like a supreme weapon. But so on the different types, you have Boltor for puncture, you have Soma for slash, and then you have the Carrot rifle. The impact rifle is the one that feels kind of, you know, like it's not up to par with the other two weapons. Some people try to use, like, this is my favorite weapon, and then I just mod it to deal with every faction. But I always just look at the weapon and go, this weapon is obviously intended for this purpose, for this faction, and set those weapons up accordingly. So it's like whenever you're fighting Corpus, like I would like to use that Carrot rifle, but it's just not as functional as the other two within its class.
Yeah, that's kind of like the philosophy that I've had with dealing with melee is I don't try to make the weapon fit my style. I try to find the strengths of the weapon and work with that. You know, rather than trying to adapt it to me, I adapt to it. And that's why there's some of the stuff that I do. People are like, how is this dagger good? And I'm like, the dagger is good because it's good. It's you that's the problem. You need to stop watching these channels that are pumping out, like, you know, the same templated type of builds over and over, and you'll understand that there's more to the game. Or there could be more to the game, let me put it that way. Yeah,
people will tell you, oh, well, you just set up this build for corrosive or something, without, you know, take a minute to look at the weapon and its inherent stats, and it will sort of tell you the intended use of this weapon. Like, I recently got on to using the dual cleavers. I never used them before because, you know, they look kind of goofy or whatever, but I got them recently, you know, and then got a hold of the Syndicate mod for them.
That's a game
and just
changer,
looking at them. But just looking at the stats of that weapon, I went, wow, this is kind of interesting. So it's got a decent crit level, right?
Yeah, it sure does.
But it's slow.
Yep.
So the interesting thing that you can do with this weapon is if you put the crit mods on it, and then you use Berserk, which is that mod that increases your speed if you get a crit. Okay, that's cool, because once you get those crits, I mean, with the crit mod, it goes up to like a 40% crit chance. So once you hit that crit, you know, you're sped up. You're not slow anymore.
Yep.
But the interesting trick is if you use the channeling mod, which also increases your crit.
Yep.
You can basically almost guarantee that crit if your first hit is a channeling hit. And so once you've done that, I mean, you can just run that increased speed like all day long. Yeah. And I found that weapon was just incredibly fun once I figured that out. So it's like, if you look at these things a little bit harder sometimes and let the stats sort of tell you where to go with them, you'll find some interesting stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I've got multiple videos on the dual cleavers with and without. I did like a full breakdown of aiming problems with the Grenier after U15, and I had the dual cleavers, and at that time I couldn't get the Syndicate mod because I wasn't farming. I don't do any of that stuff. It's, you know, people do it, whatever, no big deal. I don't care. So I wasn't doing it, and being a YouTuber and not having the latest stuff means you're not going to get seen. You know, so people are running through all these things, and I'm like, here's the real issue with the dual cleavers, you know, and I point out slow down, circle problems of, like, you know, this narrow gap that a Grenier supposedly is shooting you 100%, you know, accuracy at, and just from like a mile away, and I'm like, these are problems, guys. These are problems. Stop talking about needing more damage on your Bolter Prime or whatever. I was like, that's not an issue.
Yeah. Well, you know, that's the one of the things that we have that problem with, is that unfortunately when you open the forum up for anyone, you know, you just get flooded with people who complain about things that are really kind of just relevant to them. You know, and they think rather than a wider issue that affects everyone. So, and then you always get that funny thing that happens when you write in about something that's wrong. Somebody always chimes in and goes, "Well, I've never had that problem."
Exactly.
Thanks. I wasn't talking to you.
Yeah. I never had it, therefore it doesn't exist. Yes.
Right. But it does. You know, it's like we have people that still have problems with, like, when you go into a squad, you can't approve the mission.
Right.
So it's like 3 people in the squad can all hit approve, and then there's 1 person that can't.
Yeah.
And the weird thing is that if you decide to cancel that mission, that person can't, and therefore you're stuck waiting for that approval that you can't get, and you basically have to dismantle the squad and start over again. So it's like that doesn't happen to the other 3 people in the squad. It just happens to that 1 person.
Yeah. Different points of the game during the updates, it's happened more, you know, more and less. It's just there was one update where it was just constant for me, and I was like, okay, I'm not playing. I can't play.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always sort of, you know, back and forth with this game. I always tell people it's like a bad girlfriend. You know what I mean? You have good nights and you have bad nights, right? And it's like, I love this game, but there are things that infuriate you about it, and you just can't walk away. You know? I mean, she insults you in front of your friends and slaps you. You just won't leave her.
Yeah, I'm leaving you here on the side of the road. Jeez.
Yeah.
All right, so that was a pretty good talk. We talked some pretty hardcore Warframe stuff. We talked about a little bit of stuff there with Warframe, don't you think? I think some of the casts that I've done haven't really been Warframe centric, and I was trying to really, you know, talk a lot about the little problems I think that older players have kind of really had a chance to kind of see. And there's a lot more talk. I'm going to weed through the audio. If you couldn't tell, we had a little bit of a problem with audio. There was a disconnect as far as the timing is concerned, so I'm sorry about that. I try to clean it up as much as possible. I did a lot of editing. There's basically like a delay between him and I, and so things were a bit awkward, but not in a good way, because sometimes he would be waiting for me to say something, or I'd be waiting for him, or I would overlap his words with mine, and not intentional like I normally would. So it was just really kind of odd, but I tried to do a lot of audio cleanup on it. Hopefully it worked out. Let me know what you guys think. And in the next episode coming up, we're going to be talking about his project, which is the 7 Samurai / Warframe integrated project, and it's really cool. Alright guys, thanks for listening everyone, and we'll see you next time.